We can't go back in time to see these events, but we can definitely have a game to make us part of the action.
Rezo, you should be taking pictures of this! This is a momentous occasion!
Welcome to WatchMojo.com, and today we'll be counting down our picks for the top 10 historical events that should be made into a video game.
Newspapers every day screaming with headlines. Bullets flying, cars driving by, and light of the machine gun flashing from the window.
For this list, we're taking a look at specific events from history that have had an enduring impact in popular culture and provide rich material for a video game adaptation. We're also theorizing on what sort of games those would be.
The battle was over, but some of the worst damage was yet to come.
Number 10, the Cuban Revolution.
Many felt that they and their country were being sold out and made subservient to foreign interests.
Against seemingly insurmountable odds, a revolutionary cause known as the 26th July movement ousted a corrupt government with close ties to the mafia and large American business.
More than half of our productive land is in the hands of foreigners.
Led by Fidel Castro and Che Guevara, the movement utilized guerrilla warfare to slowly chip away at the government forces.
Castro and a small band of revolutionary activists took up arms to inspire a national revolt against Batista's government.
This could form the basis for an open-world game that encapsulates the diversity of the country, while also including a morality system that would allow you to decide if you effect a peaceful or brutal revolution.
This will be the first time that we are entirely free.
Number 9, the Zodiac Murders.
Man, you really creeped us out.
Just as the mystery enveloped Robert Graysmith in the movie about this elusive serial killer, so too might you be in a detective game that would be comparably baffling.
Here is part of a cipher. The other two parts of this cipher are being mailed to the editors of the Vallejo Times and SF Examiner.
Similar to the Jack the Ripper murders of the late 1800s, the identity of the murderer was never discovered, so any piece of media can take a reasonable amount of artistic license with the details of this case. That could perhaps be a different take on the time period of the murders, or whom they believe is behind the brutal killings and coded letters that taunted and bemused police in equal measure.
Dear editor, this is the murderer of the two teenagers last Christmas at Lake Herman and the girl on the 4th of July near the golf course in Vallejo.
Number 8, Prohibition-era USA.
Throughout the country, raids were made on bootleggers' hideouts, and cask after cask of bathtub gin were hacked open by eager police.
The prevention of selling and making alcohol in the United States was meant to address the widespread societal issues in the country, but instead led to a creation of a black market that would rival the actual economy. A crime tycoon-style game could take a look at how the mafia exploited the ban while still battling law enforcement, prohibitionists, and even the KKK.
Jurors and judges and prosecutors were paid off. Gang members refused to talk.
Think Tropico, but with the mafia instead of dictators. The era was full of conflicting ways of thinking and questionable morals, presenting many ideas for games that could come from a number of different angles.
They talk about me not being on the legitimate. Nobody's on the legit. Al Capone.
Number 7, The Travels of Marco Polo.
In Trebizond, we were set upon by thieves. Father, Maffeo, and I were robbed of our greatest treasures. This was written by Marco Polo.
Family holidays were pretty exceptional affairs for the Polo clan. At just 17 years of age, Marco set off with his father and uncle on an adventure that would take them to the depths of Asia and present them with untold danger and riches. Long before Nathan Drake was traveling the world in search of treasure, Marco was risking his life and rubbing shoulders with the biggest figures in the Persian and Mongolian empires.
I made one request. It was not for oil, it was for priests. With this, you failed. Take your leave. Go, Latins. You're banished forever.
There is no definitive account of Polo's trials and tribulations, but that doesn't really matter. He inspired countless other explorers and still provides ample inspiration for cinematic action games like Uncharted. Heck, it could even tie into the plot of Uncharted 2.
So this is the key to everything.
Yes, it is. Marco Polo's passport to Shambhala.
Number 6, the Haitian Revolution.
And then in August of 1791, the slaves were like, hi, yes, screw all of you. And a massive slave revolt broke out.
While you can go to Haiti during one of the Assassin's Creed games, we're thinking of a similar game, but just 100 years later. The Assassin's Creed series is defined by the struggles of the weak against the powerful, and this slave revolt in the Caribbean would make for an ideal addition to the franchise.
I have nothing to offer but thanks.
Nothing else is needed. As a boy, I fled the same fate.
No cause is more honorable than seeking your own freedom from oppression, and any former slave would make the perfect protagonist to take parkouring across the island.
They had been born free, but not equal.
It was not easy for them, and that's exactly why they were the first one, before the blacks, they were the first one to ask for equality.
Not only was personal liberty and survival on the line, but the rebellion against the French colonialists led to the abolishment of slavery in France and wider enlightenment for millions of people.
The French governor is two-faced.
Number 5. The space race. During the Cold War, the Soviet Union and the United States were caught up in relentless efforts to outdo each other in a quest for space superiority.
That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
It was like civilization's turn-based strategy in real life, as now every new advancement forced the other nation to keep pace and come up with more groundbreaking technology.
Oh, this is going to be some kind of different ride.
As a player, you would not only be responsible for ensuring that Yuri Gagarin gets into space or for Neil Armstrong's trip to the moon, but you would also be charged with maintaining the status of whole nations and ideologies.
Yes, he's covered with clouds. Covered by rain clouds.
Number 4. The Arab Spring and the Libyan Revolution.
Surprisingly, Libya had become the tip of the spear of the Arab Revolution.
Social media played a vital role in the organization and facilitation of the revolution that ended Muammar Gaddafi's tyrannical reign.
To start a revolution, to wage a war.
And this would form the main tenet in an unconventional camera-based FPS. Touching on the themes of the power of citizen journalism, the player could take photos and record key events that would determine how the conflict played out.
A picture is worth 1,000 words.
And how the international community would respond.
In real wars, social media has become a weapon in every armory.
Although war still rages in the country, this could be a respectful way to remember the 13,000 who lost their lives, while also creating new gameplay elements that would challenge the wanton destruction of most FPS titles.
And while a transitional government was established that year, it was marred with corruption and unpopular.
Number 3. Napoleon's invasions.
His reign would capture the imagination of the French people and launch him onto the world stage as one of the greatest conquerors in history.
Napoleon had few rivals when it came to political and military prowess, spreading French influence throughout Europe and even as far as Egypt. His navy, however, was one of the weaker points of his armed forces, and a potential MMO naval battle game could give you the opportunity to right where he went wrong.
Napoleon continued to be master of land until he decided to invade Russia.
Filled with tactics and ships as diverse as the countries he sought to conquer, you could join thousands of others on the high seas. French defeat at the Battle of Trafalgar confirmed Britain's naval superiority for the rest of the Napoleonic Wars. And if you could reverse the outcome of that fight, Britain might look considerably more Gaelic.
Throughout 1805, Nelson chased the French fleet, finally bringing them to battle on October 21st near Cape Trafalgar.
Number 2. Nazi-occupied Poland.
At first, nobody could sort of understand what was going on, and then we realized we were in a trap.
Okay, so we've seen plenty of World War II games over the years, mostly as first-person shooters on the front lines, but there's very little about the humanitarian cost of the war.
Whatever was hidden in the past now shows its true face.
In the vein of this war of mine, our title could put you in the shoes of a Jewish refugee trying to escape the Holocaust with their family.
Someone says everyone should run, so the enemy won't send us off to work camps.
And as the Nazi regime expands, so too do your choices of safe harbors diminish.
Run away as far as we can. Leave everything. Just get away.
Along the way, you'd also be presented with a number of impossible choices that can condemn others to the grave.
It has nothing to do with this.
Yes or no? It does sound like a really heavy topic, but given how a refugee crisis is just as relevant today, it could show how impactful video games can be as a medium.
If you came out in the morning, you found dead bodies lying on the street. You just stepped over them and you walked on.
Before we reveal our top pick, let's take a look at one honorable mention.
The fighting and protesting continue for a few days before parts of the military join in with the crowd and arrest the Tsar's ministers.
Number 1. The JFK Assassination Investigation.
We have 3 bullets and 3 shots that came from the book depository. That's all we're willing to say.
No, sir. I saw a man shooting from over there behind that fence.
The 4th murder of a U.S. president was one of the first major world events that became engulfed by wild conjecture and conspiracy theories.
Presidents are killed by madmen. The pattern is remarkably consistent.
These hypotheses would provide the formula for an unheard of roguelike/investigation type game surrounding the shooting.
Why not just shoot Kennedy coming up Houston? There's plenty of time. It's out in the open.
know, I keep asking myself the same thing.
The game could have you take on the role of a Jesse Ventura-type character who hunts down shreds of evidence which could possibly lead to the involvement of Fidel Castro, the Mafia, the KGB, or even a mysterious malevolent force that we haven't even heard of.
The car is the crime scene. Kennedy was killed in the car. Now, anybody that watches TV, any dummy knows, in comes the yellow tape. You can't cross into here till forensics done.
Every playthrough would have a different result of whom the perpetrator could be, resulting in multiple endings based on the different conspiracies that came out of this historic killing.
One man firing from long range at a moving target is out of the question. Even with 2 men, we found the percentages of failure are too high.
Who knows? Maybe you could really crack the real case.
And that's why I stay on top of it.
Do you agree with our list?
Yes? No?
Which historical event have you always wanted to be part of?
We know Oswald didn't pull that trigger. Castro did.
For more high-concept top 10s published every day, be sure to subscribe to WatchMojo.com.
Any last words, Mr. President?
Yes, Jack.
Any superlative words of inspiration for our humble troops?
Do not pray for easy lives, my friends. Pray to be stronger men.